Well, welcome back everybody. It's after the first of the year. I believe it's January the 5th, 2019. Votes come in. We're going to strip this, get the paint off of it. As you can see, I got some gloves, and these little thin gloves, they don't get it, okay guys? You need something substantial. So what we're going to do, as you can see, I took the escutcheon off and the grill cloth out, and we're just going to put some of this stripper on it and apply it on and see if we can get this stuff off. So let me spread this all out and I'll give you a report in a few minutes. I've put a good coat on it, smoothed it out a lot, and as you can see, we're starting to bubble up here. It's starting to work on the finish. So we're going to let it set a little bit longer, and I'll get my handy dandy used credit card and start trying to take some of this paint off. Alright, the stripper's been on there. This is the second coat of it. The primer is taking a while to come off, and as we've discussed in the comments on previous, that the paint and or the primer may have stained the wood, and so we may end up having to repaint it anyway. But anyway, as you can see, there's some colors coming out, or some wood coming out. So I've put this on, and I'm going to let it set for, it calls for 15, but I'm going to let it set for a little bit longer because this is not coming off as quickly as I thought it would, but it is what it is. So, well, I've gone over it a couple of 3 times, and this top, brother, sister, whoever put this paint on with the primer underneath, I salute you. That was not going to fall off, trust me on that. And I'm still got some issues with that. This side still got some work to do. It's getting late in the day, and so this side came off fairly decent, and I think there's something to do. I think I know why they painted it. Some veneer was missing here and here, and we'll look at maybe patching that. But I'm going to let this dry somewhat, and then I think I'm going to sand it and see if I can get the rest of it off. It's got to be sanded anyway, so it's not a big deal. So I tell you what, let me show you some progress on the C10. It's kind of slowed down since winter, so let me show you what I've done up this point. I've done a real good job of tearing it up at this point. Have to excuse the mess. I've encapsulated all the rust on the rear end. The pipes will be changed out. I think I've covered that. I've replaced all the bushings, and I lowered it, the rear end 2 inches, as you can see, with the blocks, and everything's torqued to spec. Plan on retorquing it after a few hundred miles or so. Now here comes the good part, guys. Replacing the rust. That's very important. This side was the worst, and as you can see, I've got it in here, and I've got to go back in here and do weld all that. So yeah, I've tore it up quite well, so it's just a matter of getting it put back together. But I want to make sure all this stuff is solid underneath here when you go back. I started with the driver or the passenger side simply because this is the side that is not looked at like the driver's side. Go figure. Here's some of the metal that I've taken out. Yeah, I need to clean it up. It's a safety hazard. Here's some more. As you can see, replace this brace. Also floor pan and some more braces. So you can see it's always good to get rid of all the bad metal. So it's still a work in progress. It's been a couple of weeks since I've fooled with this cabinet any, and the lacquer thinner and the stripper has all dried off of it. I'm having to do quite a bit of sanding. I don't like to get down. Now the top of it is solid wood, and so as long as I don't get with a real deep or a real heavy grit paper and scar it, I think it'll be okay. What I had planned, and I've seen other people have take and use dark toners for the top of these, particularly in here. So we'll see how that works, and maybe a dark rim around there. But this is cleaning up rather nice. As I showed before, I'm going to have to patch some veneer here and here, but this is going to be covered with the escutcheon, and may or may not be able to see a whole lot of it, but I still feel better if I were to patch that. Now, one of the concerns one of my subscriber had was if the primer got down into the grain, what we were going to do. We're going to try to clean this a little bit more with some lacquer thinner and see if we can get it out. Maybe use some steel wool and lacquer thinner and see if we can get this white part out of it. That's the only thing I know to do, and we'll just have to see what we can do with it. I mean, we had the possibility of repainting it again. I think the side, I can still see a little bit of white in here, but I really don't think this is going to make that much difference. This side turned out really, really well. Still got some, and I think I can get this out. This is these small little white splotches in here. I can get this out. It's just a little bit more work. But the front here is what's really concerning me. So let me do a little bit more work on this with some steel wool, 4/0 steel wool, and some lacquer thinner. After taking some lacquer thinner, and I actually end up using 80 grit on this, and you can see that there's still a little bit in the pores, but you know, if it's no worse than that, I don't think it's going to cause me much of a problem. And you can see the difference. I've just got to do now, for instance, that right there, that's just that'll come out. That's just flakes in there. But did this, you can see still got some specks in there, and I think I can get that out with a little bit more work. Right now it's just extremely cold down here. As you can see, the grain of the wood looks pretty doggone good. You can see my hands how red they are. It's fairly cold down here, and with the lacquer thinner, yes, it got even worse. But as you can see, that's cleaning up pretty well. So I think we're going to be all right. And you see that it was kind of like this to start with, and then it ended up like this. So if I can get it to look like this, all this to look like that, I think I'll be in good shape.